Does the legal aid framework as it's currently constituted sufficiently enable young legal aid lawyers to set up new legal organisations as their predecessors so successfully have done, whether it's firms or whatever? Particularly, I'm interested in this, organisations of the kind contemplated by the Legal Services Act, new forms of legal organisation. And if not, does that matter?
Just very quickly, I feel strongly that we should have a great deal of diversity in terms of legal firms out there. One of my great concerns about Carter has been his emphasis on consolidation. And that's why we are so concerned about BVT, because we think BVT is going to lead to the disappearance of the smaller firms. The big firms will bid at ridiculous prices, and you will have a disappearance of many of the small firms. I think it'll have a disproportionate impact on the black and minority ethnic firms, and I'm very, very concerned about that. And we want to see, I mean, if the Legal Services Act really is going to mean something with LDPs, with alternative business structures, which in fact we were very concerned about, but we've got it now in the statute book, and we want to see all of these new firms setting up. But if at the same time you're losing a lot of the smaller firms, you've got legal aid deserts emerging in many market towns. In fact, in market towns in my constituency, there are small firms closing. The small solicitors at the top, the small solicitors in the market square, they're going because of the obsession with consolidation. It will only get worse with BVT, and that's why we would like to see BVT stopped in its tracks.
Jude.
I think, setting aside general concerns about Tesco law, which I'm sure we all share, I think it is virtually impossible for junior legal aid lawyers at this stage to benefit from the provisions set out under the Legal Services Act. And I think there are really two key issues. Firstly, I think it's very difficult to establish a new business when you're competing with such big outfits without having mounds of capital. And I think the second problem is that the Legal Services Commission is all about thinking big, being big before you've even started out. And that for junior professionals is going to be very difficult. Together, I think these two issues form almost insurmountable hurdles for anybody at my stage of the profession trying to enter in and considering starting a new firm. I definitely have the thought's never even crossed my mind as it'd be something that I would be able to do. And I think, as Henry said, there are very real concerns for diversity in that context as well.
I think there are opportunities, obviously, from the Legal Services Act, and I think people are thinking quite creatively about how they can take those opportunities and move forwards. I think capital does remain an issue, but interestingly, the smaller firms all say actually the larger firms are benefiting from some of the changes and going forward, and the larger firms say it's the smaller firms that will benefit because they're more fleet of foot and they can take the opportunities and make them happen. So I think there are pros and cons, but there are certainly people talking to us. We don't have a view as the Legal Services Commission about the size of the firm. We do need to have an entity to have a contract with, and that's what we're talking. And back to a previous question, I think, several, probably about 20 minutes ago, there was a question about supervisor requirements. And again, there's pros and cons. Lots of the trainees have said you must have requirements for trainees to be supervised properly. And some discussions with firms have said, actually, let us be free to make those choices and to organise it how we think is best. So again, there's often two sides to that. And somehow you have to find a way and navigate your way through it.
Well, here's an extraordinarily vibrant and very real cross-section of the profession at a young level. How many people here are thinking of starting up their own firm? And don't flood the room with your hands, please. Could I take a proper count? Do you want to help count in the back there? Sorry, where are you? Who's that person? One person starting. That's not very fertile, is it?
Not actually. It was a question that demanded the answer no, wasn't it, really? I was in Swansea a fortnight ago, 3 weeks ago, for the launch of a firm that was made up of largely young lawyers who were devoted and going to devote the firm to doing social work law on legal aid from the very start. Some of them were experienced lawyers, others weren't experienced lawyers, some were very young, and some were trainees as well. They were working in a modern building. They were working with full of enthusiasm for the job that they were going to do. So although I agree it may not be the best time to start a legal aid firm. There are some in some parts of our country who are doing just that. And so I just want to mention that because it was actually I found it quite affecting to actually see a firm being set up, devoted, not to doing crime, not to doing family, but to doing social welfare law only.
Thank you very much, Willie.